And welcome to Daily Space Weather, folks. Looking at the sun here in 304 angstroms. There's a coronal mass ejection on the way toward the Earth. NOAA has verified what we said early in the day yesterday. We're going to show you all kinds of images of the sun and all kinds of other stuff. So check it out. Here's the 304 angstroms view. We see some filaments in the northeast, as well as a sunspot right in the Earth-facing region. The leading umbra has grown, but the trailing umbrae have shrunk. Another active region is rising there in the southeast. You can see that bright spot, and there are the time and date stamps. Next, we're going to look at the 193 angstroms view, and we're looking at about 9 hours of activity here. Here's the 193 angstroms view. Some diffuse coronal hole systems there in between those two active zones. And you can see the large southern poloidal coronal hole. And we're going to be talking about poloids versus toroids toward the end of the video. Now, here's the coronal mass ejection that we showed you yesterday on stereo A. And you can see that that is Earth-facing. The Earth is out in this area, in this direction, folks. Stereo A trails the Earth orbitally, but is able to see solar weather first, which is why we call it stereo A. It stands for ahead. And here's the image. Here are the images from the LASCO coronagraph. I did have it loaded. We don't really see very much on this yet. Possibly an indication that the coronal mass ejection is very much focused toward the Earth. And NOAA has cited a lack of data on the LASCO C2 for some reason. So that's pretty odd there. We don't see any data from the 27th yet, which is when we've made the video. So that's something to keep an eye on. And nope, not going there. Not going to do it. And we've gone to Helio Viewer, where I can show you the fields. And here's the view in 171 angstroms. And as we fade out to the magnetogram, you can see that the leading field grew significantly. The trailing field shrunk, and there are barely even any umbra associated with that anymore. And let's look at this rising region down here also in the southeast. And there you see the field associated with that. We don't see any umbrae there yet either, so that's not a sunspot yet. But it wouldn't surprise me if it became one, as it's looking pretty powerful. And we did make a video from today on Helio Viewer. There's today's activity. Let me loop that for you. Let that play a couple times for you. And by the way, thanks to our new viewers. We see new subscribers coming in every day despite our subscriber count diminishing on YouTube. So please share on your social media if you enjoy the content. And we'll let that play through once more and then move on. Did you watch our videos over the weekend? We actually put out 6 videos on Saturday. So perhaps check those out if you haven't done so. YouTube.com/smAsho. We're also on various other social media. And nope, not going there. X-ray flux has not seen any B-class flares since the 25th. And even then, they were very weak flares. 10.7 centimeter radio flux has gone up to 75, as we see cycle 25 and 24 activity on the solar disk at the same time. KP index is down to 1. And we saw a significant magnetospheric spike. We're going to get to it in a minute. There's the data from the ACE, looking at the solar wind in terms of the BTBZ, which is the total field, and the orientation on the poloidal field, which right now is oriented toward the north, in that we have a positive BZ noted there in the red line. Phi angle, you can see we have a very high phi angle. Solar wind density has been dropping throughout the past 10 hours, and solar wind speed has ramped up slightly a couple of times there in the past little bit. Here's the real-time solar wind data. Up until 9 o'clock UT at least, and There you go. The phi angle at that time, 307. That's 307 degrees. Solar wind density very low at 1.89 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind density 339, so that's a very low level, not as low as we've seen it in the past couple days, as it was all the way down below 300 kilometers a second. Now we're going to look at the geospace magnetosphere movies in terms of density as well as pressure, as we saw a massive density and pressure spike at 920 UT. So here's 4 hours of data, and you're going to see at 920, you're going to see a big density spike and then a reverberation. There's that density spike. And let's look at the pressure also. And we'll let this play through twice in case you miss it the first time. You're going to see a massive density spike here, and it's not showing up on the solar wind data yet, as the solar wind data is noted as real time, but it looks a little old right now. So that's kind of strange, folks. We're seeing missing data from the LASCO, missing data from the solar wind, and we'll let that play through again. 920 UT is when this significant current spike, or you could say density spike, or you could say magnetic effect. Now, since we don't see the solar wind data yet, we can't trace what's caused it. But there's that big reverberation. And let's look at it from the view of the poles. Now we're looking at changes in the Earth's B field, folks. Delta B. So we're looking down the Earth's poloidal fields, and you're going to see at 920 a major current induction over the Siberian North Pole. You can see it's significantly oriented toward the Siberian side and not the Canadian side. And let's just bring that back so everybody can see it. Again, coming in right at 920. And there are the repeated images of where that spike is located. Pretty far west on the Antarctican continent there, more toward Africa than toward Australia. And here's the view from the equatorial view here. And you can see that spike, which is reverberating around the entire globe, by the way. Let me just get a still image of that. Again, right at 920. There's the moment of biggest induced current, or you could say magnetism, whichever you want to say. And I'll let that play through one more time during the spike and move on and stop dwelling. All right. Let's get back to some other data here. Relativistic electrons are quite low, and GOES electron flux is completely cratered. In fact, we're seeing data missing from the GOES 14 also, and electron flux very low from GOES 16 as well. Ionosphere is looking extremely discharged. And you can see here's 6 hours of data of the ionosphere. And you can see very discharged ionosphere on both the sun and nighttime side, especially on the sun side, which right now is over someplace like the Indian Ocean. And there's the latest image at 9 o'clock, charging up a little bit more, looking a little more normal over the sun side. We see some missing data from GOES 14 also on the GOES magnetometer. So there is the GOES magnetometer data. Hoping the GOES 14 is doing okay. And here's the GONG 2 data. It's 1 hour and 42 minutes old. And once again, I wouldn't be surprised to see the North Pole field pop out here into the current sheet. But for now, and keep in mind the magnetic environment can change with absolutely no warning, but for now, we are solidly in the South Pole current sheet. South Pole polarity current sheet shown here in red. As we look down the poloidal view at the toroidal heliospheric current sheet. Largest earthquake of the past 24 occurred here in the Solomon Islands. There's a location of that as we zoom out. It was a 6.3 magnitude at 105 kilometers depth, not a good sign. Could be a portender to a larger quake at the surface. That one coming in today, just several hours ago at 5:02 UT on today, January 27th, 2020. And we're going to scroll up the list as we've seen some magmatic activity and volcano alert raised in the Aleutian Islands, as we see a 5.6 happening out there. And we're just going to scroll up the list. Deep quake at the Philippines, that 4.4 magnitude at 110 kilometers. And just keeping an eye out for anything else weird. There's a deep quake at Argentina as Western South America continues to see deep quakes, some of which very deep. There's a 5.3 at Bolivia at over 270 kilometers. And we're just scrolling up the list, folks. A 4.8 at Indonesia. Again, there's that 6.3 at the Solomon Islands, coming in at 5:02 UT today. 6.3 magnitude, 17.7 kilometers depth. Puerto Rico continuing to get hit with aftershock after aftershock. Let's hope they don't get a bigger quake. Probably not, and hopefully everything is settling in Puerto Rico. Were you aware of the new mud volcanoes forming in Trinidad and Tobago? Well, the Caribbean has shown an uptick in seismicity and apparently volcanism also. Links to the article from the Watchers below the video. Now we're looking at, Cleveland Volcano here in the Aleutian Island chain. Pardon the technical difficulties, smAsho staff, if you noticed that, and pardon the lateness of the video coming out. Here are the pressure zones on windy.com. Yeah, the software got bound up somewhere. So let's just move this map and let this advance via the GFS forecast. And we see a strong low pressure in the North Sea here, north of the UK. And there's where things will be at 12 Zulu tomorrow, 12 Zulu Universal Time, Greenwich Mean Time, etc. Here's the volcano rundown on volcano discovery. Yeah, that's what it's called. Mount Abico is erupting. Flight level 6,000 there. Mount Aso, possible activity. Don't build a campsite on Mount Aso. Semeru back on the list. Still on the list, I should say. 14,000 foot ash plume there. Explosive activity at Dacono. 7,000 foot plume there. There's the volcano we just showed you, Cleveland in the Aleutian Islands. Bunch of seismic activity there, and some hot spots on the satellite image. So possibly an uptick about to happen at Cleveland Volcano. Santiaguito in Guatemala. Some explosions happening there. 11,000 foot ash plume, Mount Pacaya exploding, Fuego exploding, Sangay exploding, Revenador exploding, Sabancaya exploding. Please don't pole vault Sabancaya. It's producing a 23,000 foot ash plume. We got sections on smashomash.com/forum about the coronavirus. So have yourself a read if you don't know what coronavirus are. And we're not talking no helicopters. Nothing about not going there. Scientists say we need 6 things to meet our climate goals. We've left links to this article on Science Alert, where scientists have this silly premise that the planet's warming and that it's caused by carbon dioxide and that you're causing the carbon dioxide, and therefore we need to do all these silly things. So read the article on sciencealert.com if you like. Please don't lose an IQ point. Let's talk about, let's talk about snow. There's a lot of it in the northern hemisphere. And if you're worried about the planet warming, keep in mind that snow is a positive feedback mechanism which raises the Earth's albedo and makes the planet colder. That is, if you get enough snow in one winter, the Earth can be plunged into a deadly ice age, which lasts tens of thousands of years, Unlike if the planet gets a little warmer, where farming becomes fantastic and the human race succeeds in unexpected ways where it's able to do things like grow crops in Siberia. Here's a value-added service. It's the U.S. Doppler radar. See a bunch of snow in Pennsylvania as well as in the Rockies. Let's look at the water vapor map. And there you have the data on the U.S. water vapor map. We're going to zoom in over Pennsylvania for once. If you're a new viewer, please note I'm located in eastern Pennsylvania, the Lehigh Valley. We'll show you where in a minute. And there's the water vapor map over Pennsylvania, and you see this warm-cold demarcation line shown in the realm of this dry air in the center of the state, which is deflecting the warm air from the south as well as the cold air from the north. And we're seeing that's the line where the snow showers are going to be throughout the day, folks. And the water vapor map does show us water vapor that has not condensed onto clouds, so keep in mind dry air is more massive than moist air. And there are the jet streams over that area. Let's zoom out on the western world. There are the jet streams to the west. Extremely meridional jet stream flow. Very out of phase with normal jet stream. There is the eastern world, a little bit more organized, but still kind of all over the place. Did you see errors in our premiere earlier? Well, we sure did. So perhaps check it out. Oh, never mind. You can't.